Guess what just came in today? Dare I say I was spot on. I have had PHAM'S new book on pre-order since December, and I've been really waiting to get my hands on this. So I'm gonna start this tonight, and I wanna see how fast I can read it. First and foremost, first glance at it, obviously knew what the cover was, so already think that's super cute, but the doodles in this, I don't know if this was known, because I know people read it already, but these little doodles at the beginning of all the chapters are so cute. They have these little like love letters as the dividers, and at the very end there's an annotated chapter. That's really cute, and there's also a little handwritten note from Haley at the beginning. So it says, if you're reading this, this means you're holding the first printing of my first book. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, do I own the first copy? And then I was like, no, wait, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. It was just one of those things that threw me for a loop initially, and then I was like, oh, I'm stupid. So I'm really excited, really excited to read this. I think it's gonna be pretty good, but we will see. I will be honest. I promise that I'm not gonna be harsh, but I will be honest about how I feel. So let's get to starting this. I don't think I'm gonna have a ton of time tonight. I'll probably only be able to get a few chapters in, maybe like 50 pages, just because it is already bedtime for me. So I'm gonna read this before I fall asleep. Also, before we get too deep into the video, hi, hello, beautiful people of the internet. My name is Jade and welcome back to my channel. I usually do a little spiel about all the kinds of videos I make, but right now I'm in a little bit of an experimentation phase. I'm really just trying to figure it out right now, and I'm taking you guys along. So if you want to be here for the journey, be sure to click the subscribe button down below and throw out all the ideas you have for me. Let's get into the book. I just did an hour block of reading, which got me to about 1/3 of the way through the book. For those of us who need a visual representation, it's about this much. I was gonna do an update at like 20-25%, but honestly with this book being like 300 pages, it's going by really fast. So I guess I'll probably do like 2 more updates. I guess 1 more update and then the final one when I finish. But I feel like this is a good part to do an update on, because I really want to be careful with my words when I'm talking about this, because I don't want to be hypercritical and I don't want to be mean about anything ever, even if I do have negative opinions, because as always, these are real people with real feelings, and I'm not just trying to be like an asshole. I think that's something I've realized reading a book of someone who I actually see so much. It's made me think a lot. Like, before I go into what I'm thinking, I've been thinking about a lot of the reviews I've seen so far, especially some of the like reviews before the book was even released, like the people who read the art copies. I think people just want to be more critical of this book because it is someone who is a YouTuber, so it's someone more seriously under the public eye, and it's someone also who people do love to hate for seemingly no reason. Some people, I mean. So yeah, it's just interesting that I feel like the reviews are clouded by people's opinions on her, not on the book. I think they're paying too much attention to things that otherwise I don't think you would really be paying that much attention to. We don't have to hyper-analyze every single word choice ever. That's just not necessary. I guess you can, but be equal in your judgment. Like, if you're gonna criticize one person's word choice, then criticize everyone's. Don't make it specific just because you want something to not like about this book. Anyways, with all that being said, that's just something that's been on my mind, is like, just because you know or you feel like you know this person for more than just their writing and who they are as an author, like you feel like you actually know the person, don't let that affect the way you're reading the book. I will say it is hard, because when you look at this cover, that is Haley and that is Ryan. Like, I can see the differences, but like overall, description wise, that is them. So it's kind of difficult for me to not picture them when I'm reading this. Like, this is about them. It's like a fan fiction that is written for them. With that being said, it's not like it's their story. That's something that's kind of pissing me off too, is that people are like, this is them, and I understand where they're coming from, but also like, it's not. Personality wise, it is similar to them, and looks wise, it is similar, but it's not their story. It's not like she just wrote like a retelling of their life. She maybe drew inspiration from her relationship relationship and, you know, from her husband. And I feel like that's normal, especially for a debut book. I feel like you should pull from your own life, and you should pull from like the personality you already know in a romantic partner. Like, I will say this, for someone who's publishing their first book, you don't need to overcomplicate it. I've been writing for a long time, and characterization is one of my favorite things. And I feel like, to me, I like building a lot of different characters, but maybe for some people characterization is not their favorite thing or their strongest thing. I'm not saying that it is or isn't Haley's, but I'm just saying that kind of to make it easier on yourself to write your first book, yeah, draw inspiration from the people in your life, from your own relationship. Don't make it any harder than it has to be. Write a simple story for your first book. You can make it more complicated as you go on. You can start building more complex characters as you go along. You can start experimenting and using different ideas, but like, I don't think that this needs to be anything crazy. So I would definitely not say it's a criticism on my part, but it's definitely something I noticed, and I understand where other people are coming from to a certain capacity. Like, yes, it feels like them. I will also say, so far, I am about, I'll tell you the exact number actually, I'm on page 117. Prior to this session, I read 38 pages, so I've made a little bit more of a dent today, but in those first 38 pages, I was about 12% of the way through the book. I was a little bit more nervous about how this was going to go, and it's funny because I was curious after reading that first section what the average rating was. So I looked on Storygraph, just on Storygraph. I know that's just like one metric, but I looked on there to see what the average rating was, and it was on the lower end. But I was looking at the reviews, and a lot of people were DNFing it at like 10%. So they were like 30 pages into this book DNFing it. I've been there before, so I understand doing it that early, but I feel like I try to give it at least like 50 pages for the most part. I'm gonna generalize and say that that's what I always do, because sometimes I can just tell from a couple pages that I don't like the style, and maybe some people felt that way about this book. But I really think that it could have been given more a chance because it was still in the setup period. And yes, I did feel within those first few pages, like, I'll be honest, I could understand why someone would want to DNF it. However, I think it was still worth seeing it through at that point. So that's a little bit sad to me that people wouldn't give it a little bit more of a chance, because now that I have read 10 chapters, now I see the appeal. I was interested for the first session, and I did want to read more. I guess I felt like it was very simple, and I'm still feeling that way at this point. It's a very, very simple, cutesy book in my mind. It feels a little young. But what is interesting to me is it feels like it's going incredibly fast. Like, yes, I'm already a third of the way through, but I'm only a third of the way through, and it feels like a lot of the major plot points have kind of passed already. Like, it started and it's over. It already feels like there's some levels of resolution, and that makes me really, really curious, because I felt like some of the things, obviously I can't go into details without spoiling plot points. Some of the major themes feel like they're a little bit over-explained. Some of the feelings that the main character is having, it will be kind of given, and I think those are things that the reader should kind of figure out on their own accord. I'm being very, very vague, but that is the only thing that I'm noticing. Like, the writing is simple. Some of the dialogue does feel like people wouldn't really say this, and yeah, it's fast so far to me. I don't read a lot of fast-paced books, but this one feels like it's going really fast. But that's what I'm saying, is like, we're only 1/3 of the way through. So what is going to go down in this next 200 pages? Like, now that has me interested. I think this has a lot more substance than face value. Like, the story that it was setting up in the very beginning, I think it's gonna go very dramatically different from what you automatically assume the big plot points are gonna be. And I already have my suspicions. I already think I know what the surprise plot points are gonna be, the ones you didn't think were gonna be a major part of this book. I will say this does remind me a lot of Emily Henry too. The miscommunication trope, the way the friendships are set up, the setting, the descriptions, it feels very Emily Henry-esque. So that's what kind of makes me think I know the direction this is going in. I don't think that's a spoiler, because I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen. My prediction for this is I still don't think, this is no hate. No hate at all. I don't think it's gonna be a 5-star. I'm not feeling that this is gonna be anything life-changing. It feels a little vanilla, a little simple, but I have never said I don't enjoy a really simple book at all. I love my simple romances. Also, just slight point to make that I am getting bored of reading so many simple romances lately, so I don't want to let that cloud my judgment at all. I don't think it is, but I have been feeling like I need something really crazy and intense, so this is not giving that as much. So it's like if you were in the mood for something really crazy and intense, I don't think that this is the correct book. But really, despite that, I'm still liking it. I'm still very intrigued. It's not boring me. It's not taking me a long time to get through it so far. So I think it's gonna be in the 3 to 4-star range, which I have plenty of really good books that I have enjoyed that are in that range. I know people have different scales. For me, a 3-star is I liked it. I don't really feel the need to like reread it. It didn't change my life or anything, but I didn't have any negative feelings. It's basically a neutral for me. So I think it's gonna lean a little bit higher because I think it has a few things that I can take away from it so far. Don't think it's like a life-changing, need to reread it constantly kind of book, but so far it's good. And I think especially it's good for a debut novel. You never really expect people's debut novel to be off the charts insanely impressive. I mean, shit, even authors that, you know, I love, their most recent book will be a complete miss for me, but then I love all their other ones. It's like people have ranges. Typically they start off at a certain level and they only improve, but some people kind of jump around. Some people start really, really low to the point that like no one even reads their first few novels. So I think this is a really, really, really solid start. And especially the more I read through this, I think it might get even better. I've heard some people say it has a turning point. So I don't know if I've hit that yet or not. I feel like I've hit a small turning point, like a moment where I was like, you know what? I'm really interested on where this is gonna go. But I don't think it's at that full-blown, I can't stop reading this moment quite yet. I do want to keep reading it, but I have some editing to do. So I'm gonna take a pause. I might read more tonight, but we'll see how tonight goes. Okay, it is March 9th and I am determined to finish this book today because this is my last day to read it. If I want to read it within the first week of its release. I also just want to finish it in general. I feel like right now I'm on page 168. I'm on chapter 15. I'm feeling slightly more negative than I was last time. I still don't really know what is gonna go down and if it's gonna change my mind, but so far I will say it's still really fast to me and I still just feel like there's kind of a lack of detail. Like the descriptive sentences are like 1 to 2 sentences long. Like we don't get full paragraphs of description in this, of like explaining emotions or scenes, settings, anything like that. I just feel like we're powering through all of the emotional growth and all of the feelings. So I don't know, because like the main idea is there. Absolutely. It's a good basis for a story, in my opinion. And even like not just the overall plot, but the emotional story behind it and the character growth, it is there. I just feel like it's telling too much rather than showing, and the descriptions don't last long enough. Like for example, if the character is sad, usually you want to write that more as like she hasn't gotten out of bed in days, she finds it hard to brush her teeth, something like that. That is a real quick showing description of like sadness, versus like in this book it'll be like she's so sad she feels like her sadness can swallow her. It is descriptive and it is telling of the situation, but we'll just like say a sentence like that and just move past it very quickly. And again, there's not a lot of showing, there's just a lot of telling, in my opinion. So that's the only like criticism that I'm having so far, is that it's so fast that it feels like it lacks the depth you need from the actual words. Again, the storyline depth is there, it just doesn't feel like it was written all the way through. But we'll see. I think that might change. It may. We're gonna see. I'm gonna read the whole thing tonight and I will have updated opinions. I'm still feeling like this is a solid like 3 stars. I'm excited. Okay, let's go. It is done, you guys. Finally finished the book. Dare I say I was spot on in what I thought this would be. This book was easily a 3.25 star book. Every time I read a book and I'm a little bit conflicted on how I feel, it's usually somewhere between 3 and 4 stars, but that exact placement, I have to go and look at all of my other ratings to figure out exactly where that's gonna fall. I rated some other very popular, very good books also as 3.25s. Some of them that I saw were Great Big Beautiful Life and The Dead Romantics. And both of those I had a very similar feeling as I do to this book, which is plot was great. Execution wasn't really fully there, but there were moments where I could see it. I think the ending really did a lot for me. Like, it was so cute. I actually found myself tearing up a little bit because it was just really cute and really sweet. It's one of those just like feel good, sweet romance novels that you don't have to think too hard about. You don't have to take too seriously, in my opinion. But I think that's what makes it a little bit difficult, is because the plot has a lot more complexity than that. When you look at all of the overall themes going on, there's a lot about grief in here, but I feel like it was pulled a little bit in two directions. Like, it wanted to be this really cutesy, sweet, simple romance novel, but it also wanted to be this really big coming of age, self-discovery, heartfelt, deep novel, which is why this is very similar to Emily Henry to me, because that's kind of her concept. And also I know that's where Haley's drawing a lot of inspiration from, because that's one of her favorite authors. So I really saw a lot of that. I think there was too much pull from either side. Like, it's hard to call this a simple sweet romance novel when there is so much about grief and just all these big life things to figure out. Like, it feels wrong to call it simple, but then you don't want to call it this complicated, deep coming of age novel, because it really doesn't go deep enough into that for it to be that. So I think that's one of my issues. It's kind of mixed up with like what it wants to be. I also think I saw a lot of complaints about this in the reviews, by the way. It was marketed as an adult novel. I don't know where it says that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where to see genres. It just says fiction back here. But apparently it was marketed as an adult novel. This was very, very YA. I think that's a big issue for me too. There's a few big issues, but I think just the writing was really simple. Like I said, I don't think I can say that enough times in this. It was simple. It was really fast paced. It lacked a lot of depth, in my opinion. I think that because there is kind of a perspective switch, or I guess a time period switch from back when they were like teenagers and then onto the version of themselves in their early 20s. It kind of feels like they never leave the time period of being like 17. There is some growth. Like, there's definitely a slight switch that is flipped when they are a little bit older, but I don't know. And of course I still have the same problem that I talked about earlier, which is I feel like there's not a lot of description, which is really funny because after I said that, that was pretty much where it started to switch for me. I would say about at the halfway point. Everything after that, it's like we're getting a lot of full paragraphs without dialogue. I think before that it was a lot of dialogue, but I was trying to pay attention to how much of the page was dialogue versus not, and I was getting, like, if you just take this, like a full 2 pages without dialogue, which I was very, very happy about because it felt like I hadn't seen that one time before. And maybe that's a personal preference. I'm not trying to read just conversation throughout the whole book. I need a lot of the internal world. I need a lot of descriptors. I want to be immersed and I want to be shown a lot of things, not told a lot of things. So that was just my thought process with the writing style. I don't think that there were too many like big words, or that she just pulled out a thesaurus and just changed some of the words. It did feel like that for like the first couple pages, but then it died down pretty quickly. I think she talked about this in her video of like the whole writing process, but she was saying that she's become such a better writer when she was finishing up this book, and she wishes that she could go back and just rewrite the first parts of the book, but then she would end up wanting to rewrite it again because she's just going to continue to become a better writer. I think that if she would have went back back and wrote the beginning again, it would have been a lot better. But at the same time, I completely understand where she's coming from. And I think after you are writing your first book for like 4 years, and I think she said she wrote the first like 20,000 words very, very early on. And then she, after that, decided that she was going to take it seriously. So I feel like she's grown a lot and she's had a lot of time with this specific book. I think she needs to like separate herself from this anyways, because this plot has probably been like over consuming her for so long. Now she just needs to like reset, if you know what I mean. I think she did really good with the characters. I still think she could have gone deeper, but I think the side characters were written very well. I actually think the 2 main characters had probably the least personality out of everyone else. So I thought that was interesting. But again, I feel like she really wrote herself into this character a lot, which I was not bagging on in the beginning. I'm still not, but I think I also said this in my first clip. I think it would help to maybe write someone very different from her. And the only reason I'm like more concerned about it now is in this first printed copy, if you have the annotated chapter, the behind the scenes, all her little notes that she wrote were like, this is my favorite flower. This is the nickname I was called as a kid. Stuff like that. And it is sweet. And like I said, for a first book, surely write yourself into the character. But again, this is Ryan and Haley. This guy is so Ryan. I feel it in my soul. Like I said, I'm not gonna repeat it a million times, I promise, but like I said, it's fine to write yourself into a character, to write your own relationship into your relationship for your book, but okay. I don't want to picture Ryan. Like, I mean this in the most kind, loving way. I love Ryan as a YouTuber. I don't want to picture him in my romance book. It is like a strange feeling for me. I mean, same goes for her. Like, I want to be able to just take them out of this picture and have someone else to visualize. But yeah, I'm trying not to be too negative. I feel like I talked about a lot of my positives earlier. I do feel like it was sweet. It was a cute romance. A lot of people were complaining about the chemistry. I thought the chemistry was completely there. I think the buildup was there. I don't love the miscommunication trope. It's not my favorite, just conceptually, but I don't think this was done terribly. I think that this was also very reminiscent of Emily Henry and Allie Hazelwood. A lot of big romance authors are doing miscommunication right now. Yeah, it's not my favorite concept after reading it so much, especially, but you know, I think it made sense. Everyone's like, this could have been fixed if they just talked. Like, that is what miscommunication is. That is what the trope is. That is what all of these books are. I understand it frustrates you, but that is the plot. That is the point. It's supposed to be frustrating, and it's supposed to be a really good motivator for character growth as well. I wish there was more to it. I wish it was a little bit more drawn out, a little bit deeper, a little bit more complex. Basically meaning I wish some of the side characters had like a little bit more reason to be there. Basically wish there was something outside of just the romance that was moving the story along. There was obviously some, but it just all felt like afterthoughts. So nothing was pushing this book into like being not good or bad, but there wasn't a lot pulling me towards it being great or life-changing or monumental. It was an easy, simple, cutesy middle ground, leaning a bit more in the positive direction. So I feel good about this. I feel good about my reading. I can't wait for a second book, but I do hope she takes her time. If any of you guys did read this for yourself, I don't know if any of the actual grammar or like, what's the word for this? Like actual writing, that some of it seemed wrong. Like, it feels like the editing was not fully fleshed out, but that's not on her part. That's like the actual editors. I don't know 100%. Some of them I was like, I don't know if this is right or wrong. There are some times when they were thinking back to something that a character said. Some of the times it was italicized and some of the times it was in quotes. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be italicized if it's like a thought, like a past thought of someone saying something, but maybe I'm wrong. So that's one of my other hopes. Is I hope for future books, do not rush it, take your time, really edit it thoroughly, maybe make it a little bit longer and have it have more motivators besides romance, a little bit more conceptually going on besides romance, and more description, more showing, not telling. That is what I'm gonna leave this video off with, and I hope if you guys did read this book for yourself, you either agree with me or I can give you a little bit of a different perspective. And if you haven't read this book, I hope that maybe this convinces you to give it a shot and allows you to form your own opinion. But other than that, if you like this video, be sure to leave it a like and a comment, and if you're feeling generous, you can even subscribe. I do hope to see you guys all in the next video, but if not, bye bye.